Welcome to a festive edition of Net Proper Podcast. I'm Niall.
I'm Dark.
And it's just after Christmas.
It is.
And New Year's is coming, and it's time to wrap up what we've been up to.
It is. We're almost, even though we're wrapping up last season, we're almost looking sort of to Australia. We will do a pre-Australian Open podcast, but we're heading towards a new year, a new tennis season, but we haven't done a wrap-up, and that's what we're back to do.
This is a wrap-up edition. To look back on the money we made in the season.
Great year.
And to see what happened this year and what's going to happen next year, and our prospects, our predictions.
Few blog entries up. You said, I remember, quote, you said, we're going to try and find something to do with this blog section. A lot's happened there since the last podcast.
Very, very exciting stuff going on there in the blog section of the website. Very exciting.
Very exciting. Give it an L read if you can spare a few minutes.
Yeah, one thing we did put up there was all our picks for the year.
Yep.
We stuck it up there, and you can go ahead and look at it. 21 bets.
21 bets.
Doesn't seem like a lot, but I think we were saying if, what was it, 50 quid? If you had 50 quid in at the start of that.
1650 roughly, was it?
Yeah.
1,650 quid if you followed our bets.
You'd be sitting on that. So go to netprofitbets.com, blog section. There's a few articles there. It gives you a bit of insight into our stuff and also our results for the year.
Yeah, I think some of them are worth a read because it'll just put you in the right mindset, I think. It kind of gives you a bit of an insight into the kind of the stuff that we would have been talking and thinking about as we went through last year's betting season, and the stuff that we've kind of, I suppose, established as being key to being successful, I think.
Yeah, it gives you an idea of how regularly we bet, which is not regularly at all. It's very irregularly. But that's by design. We're looking at what we say, like 30, 35, maybe even 40 bets a year.
Yeah.
But that's it. If you look down too, you'll also see the odds that we got each bet on. I think which averaged around about 1.19.
Which I suppose it does give you a bit, like if you pan out over 35, 40 bets and you even look at an average of 1.1 versus 1.12, that's a huge difference.
That's massive, yeah.
So if the fact that we're looking at 1.1 up and getting average odds of 1.19 after 21 bets, there's an awful lot of money that can be made there. And if you look at sort of what we are willing to bet on, we're not literally looking at bankers as being, oh, that's kind of too high odds to be a banker. Like, this system is more about checklisting a game and looking at how the game performs once it fits the criteria. Yeah. As in, it's 1.1 plus. It's not like we're looking for bets where, oh, that's 1.1, this is 1.15, we go to 1.1. We're looking at checklist passes, and when we can get good odds, we're taking it because it's a lot more money to be made in some of these bets.
I've actually haven't looked at it. I'm just saying there, the highest odds we got were for Manarino.
Yeah.
Which was at the US Open for 1.35.
And that's huge.
Well, to us, that's basically 3 matches in one.
That's 3 matches in one.
Roughly.
Yeah.
So to get a bet like
the
that.
The risk of only one game.
Yeah, actually, the US Open was good to us because we had 3 bets there. So that was a good tournament. We'd love to get that for all the slams next season. If
we could hit, that was the average is 3 per slam. There is hopefully going to be some kind slams next year where we might be. There's so many games in the slam in comparison to the other tournaments that if you could find 3 or 4 bets, it would make up for the games where, for example, looking back on Paris, it wasn't kind to us. We knew that when we done the podcast, and we did say we were going to struggle to find bets. We did find one very, very comfortable bet. Was it 6-2-7-5?
6-2-7-5, Gasquet against Mayer.
Yeah, very comfortable win for him.
That was about 1.25 on the odds. Just looking now, we said before as well, it's only 2 sets out of 53, is it? 53 sets played in those 21 games. We've only dropped 2 sets, which were during the first 4 matches.
They were.
So we dropped a set. I think Robrito gave us a drop set, and Goffin, surprisingly enough.
It was Goffin.
But that's it. Like, after those 4 matches then, for the remaining 17 matches. Yeah. It was all straight set victories since the end of May.
It was. And I think as well, we've obviously talked about it and touched on in the last podcast maybe how successful the season had been. But when it's actually up there on the blog, you can see the games one by one. And obviously, we didn't put any monetary values beside it because that's not really important. Everyone's got different goals.
I mean, you can do the math yourself. You can start off at 100 quid and just multiply it by those odds there, and you'll see how much you could have made.
You could. And what we said was if somebody did pop in 50 and were a little bit patient, went with us for the bets. Yeah. I mean, it's 7 months, say 6 months of gambling from May to December. But I mean, 50 quid, it would have turned into 16. Who doesn't want 1,500 quid to spend at Christmas?
Damn right. I think anyone coming new to our system might look at it and go, oh, they don't bet very regularly. It's a very slow system. But look, just go have a look at that screenshot. Start off with how much money you would be comfortably putting in at the start of this season per se. Just go through those odds, multiply it up, and see what we have at the end. You might be surprised.
It's and as well, like if you want to do it, I mean, looking at it, 1.10 is potentially what we will look when we're calculating. We'll probably do it on a 1.10 average, just to be cautious.
Yeah.
But realistically, it's probably going to be 1.15 plus. I would have thought on average for the season. It's hard to know. It's hard to know what kind of odds we'll get next year, but it'll depend on who we're betting more on. Is it going to be players maybe top, say, 6 to 16, or is it going to be 16 to 30? Because obviously there's more favourable odds for the players who pass who are a little bit higher. Yeah.
So yeah, go to netprofitbets.com and check out the blog for 2015 end of season results.
Yeah.
Enjoy yourself there.
Do and expect a lot more of the same going forward.
Yeah. Right. So anyway, let's wrap up the last month or so.
Okay.
What's been happening? I suppose obviously we had that only one single bet in the Paris Masters, which is a bit disappointing, but screw it. Novak won that. Then we had the World Tour Finals, which we weren't interested in at all, really.
No, I barely followed it.
No bets going on there.
No bets. Obviously, we said we weren't going to bet on it, and we didn't because all the players are in the top 8 in the world. The whole point of the whole thing, we the top 8 get there.
I wouldn't have been touching that. I think it was fairly predictable anyway.
Yeah.
You could look in hindsight, obviously, but it wouldn't be our kind of thing.
No.
And then, of course, Davis Cup. Murray bringing home the bacon for Britain.
Yeah, he'd had his eye on it, and he talked about it. It was his main aim for basically his career.
Since the day he was born, obviously born to win the Davis Cup.
It's a big thing for him, and he brought it home, which is good to see for Murray, to be fair. It's
good in fact, maybe I just avoided media over the last month or so, but I didn't hear too much about it, thankfully.
No, it did go kind of on the day. It was like any other news, big news in the day, and then kind of, I reckon it's just a case of just getting on with it now. Like he still has a lot to achieve in his career, you'd expect. So
so let's talk about Murray next year then. He came up with an interesting quote there.
He did.
If I can find it. It's about this the Sprague that's on the way, basically.
Yeah.
He was asked, would he withdraw from the Australian Open if his kid come? He said, I'd go home for sure, yes. I want to make sure at the beginning I am there as much as I can be to try and help out, just to be there for whatever really is required of me. So he's excited about it. People ask me, do you think it will be a distraction? He says, it might be a distraction, but it's a good distraction. That's not what you want to be hearing the World Number 2 saying coming into the Australian Open, and certainly not what we don't want to be hearing.
No.
But we wouldn't bet on Murray often. He's been, I think, once maybe in those 21 bets. I'd have to double check.
I think at the very beginning there was a bet on Murray very early.
Yeah, there definitely is one in there, but we won't bet often on him because obviously he'd be in the kind of odds range where he's getting ridiculous things like 1.02 or something like for his fucking early round matches. So we won't be on him very often, but still, that's that would almost blacklist him for me for the next couple of months.
Yeah.
And especially for the Oz Open. But where does that leave him? If he's in the semi-finals, is he really going to withdraw from the Oz Open in the semi-finals if he makes it that far? Or the final, say? Imagine the Sprague popped out of the oven and fucking the final morning.
Right in the business end of the event.
What's he going to do? It'd be interesting.
It would be interesting. I think he's probably thinking more from a kind of a long view perspective that if anything happens, I'm willing to back out of the tournament. But these things are never ideal timing wise. So if it was a semi-final, final, I'd say it'd be hard for him, but he's already said in the press that he was going to go. So the chances
I think he'd be the kind
are,
of guy that he'd do what he said. He'd leave.
Yeah.
Halfway through the final, 2 sets up.
The phone
match
rings.
point.
Hang on a minute. Umpire, give me a second.
Yeah.
For a signal on this.
But it'd be interesting to see what that does to his odds, actually, whether the bookies might take that into account.
I'd say they probably won't at all. I'd say it'll be priced fairly as you'd expect. But it's worse for us because we should be getting getting better. It's far more risky for us to be betting on a player like that.
He's also taken off all of February. So after the Oz Open, February's off and he won't be playing again until Davis Cup in early March. So there's a big chunk of non-tennis there for Murray.
I'd expect we'll have to kind of monitor how he gets on next season. I mean, as we said already, we don't really bet on him on a regular basis. So I don't think it's going to be a case of there'll be bets missed because Murray isn't around. I think, if anything, we'll see how he gets on after the birth of his show. Because there's going to be a huge impact on his life, obviously, as well.
Big time, yeah.
It's only him out there in the court. So if he's not up to scratch,
but he has that number 2 in the world position now for the last 2 months or so.
Yeah.
Funny that obviously Federer will be his main contender for number 2, and he's released a very interesting schedule for next year. He's basically skipping clay court season completely. He's only playing Roland Garros. That's it. Then he's going to ramp up in the summer for grass tournaments and the Olympics.
Yeah.
And the rest of the season is pretty much as is, but he's completely skipping the clay court
Again, I think another player where we don't really bet on.
season. No, we
ever,
don't. But it's
so
still interesting to see. Like he obviously
he's
doesn't
thinking of his body as well.
yeah, he doesn't
you
give
know.
himself a chance at the French Open, obviously.
Yeah.
And he's definitely going for those Olympics. Has
But
a
it's
eye on those.
another one of those players that even if, like, obviously, if you're a gambler and you see a potential that a big player is going to lose a game, you might stick a few quid against. But
Yeah.
obviously for us, this is about pure passes, and you're never going to get a pass against Roger Federer or Andy
No.
Murray. Even if there was a baby half on the way out, I still wouldn't bet against Murray anyway, So
No,
it's-
definitely. But so he obviously has his eye on Wimbledon,
yeah.
US Open, and maybe Oz Open. I don't think he has a chance in the Australian Open, but
He
he's
looks like
definitely in there for Wimbledon anyway.
he's probably trying to. He'd like to probably go out at the end of next season, maybe after at least saying I won a slam in my final year.
Yeah.
That's probably what he's.
I think he has
his
one more in
thought
him.
process.
But anyway, so he's missing. He's missing. I've written down here: Indian Wells, Miami, Monte Carlo, Madrid, and Rome. So he's missing.
Yeah, they're all packed together. So
Yeah, missing those. So he's missing 4 Masters. It's a lot of. Well, actually, he didn't do too well in 2 of those Masters, so he's not missing a lot of ranking
No, he's
points.
not.
But it's going to affect him. Like it's I think he made the final of Madrid, possibly. I can't remember, but he's definitely dropping a certain amount of points. But
and ranking points going into the following season. If he wasn't planning on playing beyond, it doesn't really matter where he'll still finish in the top 3 or 4 anyway. It's
Yeah.
probably more about what he can win next year from his perspective.
yeah,
That matters.
but it's an interesting schedule that he has there. So we'll keep an eye on him, obviously, as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Nadal, yeah, your guy. How'd you rate his prospects for next year? Does he have a slam in him for 2016?
I think he's been playing a lot of good tennis, and I think he has acknowledged that last season was an improvement, but still needs to be a lot better. I would hope Nadal is going to be competing in every single tournament he plays next year. Whereas in some of the games this year, there was the game against Dustin Brown where he really, really struggled with the serve, and Nadal is the type of player who he doesn't have he can serve big if he wants, but his game isn't about his serve. It's obviously all about top spin, and he's normally able to return pretty much anyone that's able to ping a serve at him and then take advantage of the weak points in their game and make them work really, really hard, so much so that they just can't deal with him towards the end of the game. And he wasn't able to do that on court. He didn't have that extra gear at this first half of last season and maybe the tail end of the season before.
I think he has a lot of confidence issues now.
Well,
Big
I
confidence
think
issues.
he might have. I think the end of last season he'll find a lot of encouragement because I know he wasn't beaten any of the big. I know he got beaten by Djokovic and whatever, but if it's about confidence, it's winning games that breeds confidence. And he won a lot of games at the end of last year. He didn't go out of tournaments at
But he
silly stages or.
Not a single Masters under the belt for last year.
That's true.
Or this season, I mean. I've got a quote here for, he was asked how he felt about the end of the season. He said, I feel free, whatever the fuck that means. It's not right to feel unlucky. I feel very lucky about all the things that happened to me. I still got 14 Grand Slams and Olympic gold, so I did much more than I ever dreamt. To me, that doesn't sound like somebody who's really amped up for 2016 and wants to get more slams and more tournaments. It sounds like somebody who's content with what he has and just going with emotions now.
But his world ranking place he hasn't exactly fallen too far.
No, and he wouldn't either. Like he's obviously still getting those ranking points up, but
Yeah.
I can't see him winning a slam in 2016.
A
Obviously,
slam-
Roland Garros is his best chance,
Yeah, it is. And it
especially now
always
with
will be.
Federer obviously basically saying, "No thanks, lads."
But sure, Wawrinka won it last year.
Yeah,
So
much to the dismay of Djokovic.
yeah. So
So
that'll be. I'm actually really looking forward to Roland Garros next year. Really looking forward to it because I think there's going to be. You're going to have the pressure on Wawrinka. Can he retain it? You're going to have Nadal. Can he win a slam?
and he knows the answer to Wawrinka retaining that slam.
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
that's true. But at the
Regardless
same
of
time,
what shorts he wears.
it's just going to be one of those kind of. There'll be a lot of rumblings pre-tournament and that one to who is going to win it this year because as you said, there's obviously always going to be that Wawrinka can't win it again. So who is going to win it?
I think it is probably. I think out of the 4 slams, it's probably going to be the most open in 2016.
Yeah, I think so.
Because you got to look at Djokovic for the hard court. I'd say, I'm going to call it now. I'm going to say Djokovic for US Open and Oz Open. I'm going to say Federer to nip a cheeky Wimbledon Grand Slam. And then, the toss-up for me now is Roland Garros. I think it's a bit more open than the other 3.
Yeah, I'd be with you on that. I think Federer is a very smart man.
Yeah, I think
and
that
he's primed himself to win Wimbledon.
I think that's he's definitely pushing
he's got
for
it
a
in
summer.
him. He's got it in him.
I think especially if he reserves his energy, but he's obviously concentrating on a summer swing basically.
Yeah, exactly.
So I put him
Big
down
grass
for
game.
Yeah. Put him down for Wimbledon. Why not? It could be nice to see Federer win it.
I love no. Well, I'd love not more to see Nadal win it,
Well,
but
yeah,
I mean,
obviously. That's not going to happen there. Sorry about that.
No, it'll be interesting to see. I think even Queens. I'm sure Federer is playing Queens. It'll be interesting to see.
No, he's not playing. He's playing. Is he playing Queens? I think he's playing Hull.
Gary Hall, is it?
Is that on the same time as Queens?
I think Gary Weber. Even sorry, it is on at the same. Well, they're.
I have to double check that, but I'm not sure if he's playing Queens. I don't think he is. I think he's in Germany before Wimbledon.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough.
He's been talking about his sabre, his tactic on the opponent's serve where he comes straight in.
Oh yeah.
He's been talking about that more. He said someone asked him about it. He said, "I would love to keep trying it now that I have time to practice." I like that Federer, just like kind of. I wasn't really practicing. I just decided to do it one day, and it's great. But he goes, "I'm sure I will spend some time on that as well, and see if it's something I should keep up. I am happy with that. That it kind of worked. It was fun, and it was all over the news. I thought it was quite exciting for me personally. It's like this guy doesn't take any kind of joy out of winning slams anymore. It's like he's so bored he has to pull this shit out, you know." So yeah, he's keeping himself entertained while the other mere mortals play around him, you know.
Well, that's exactly it. Like watching people just not be able to deal with something that he's just kind of constructed in his own mind. Fair play to him.
We were talking about TM,
Dominic
and
TM, yeah,
and Goffin as being potential big stars for 2016.
I think when you look at where they're placed in the world rankings, you know you're going to get good odds that'll fit our hopefully plenty of checklist passes for those two next year. And they're really, really coming into their own. They've got a really strong game, and I think I can definitely see them being very profitable players for us next season.
I think we'll be all over Goffin again.
Yeah,
in 2016.
without a doubt.
I think he's a solid player, and his odds at the moment aren't too low for us.
You're getting 1.15 to 1.25 normally on both of those lads. Now, TM is obviously not as consistent as Goffin, and his world ranking place will.
He's younger as well, isn't he?
He is a little bit younger. Yeah, I think he's 21.
TM's 22. Is Goffin younger than TM?
I think Goffin's 23 or 24. No?
He is 25, so a few years older.
So
let's go down the few players there, see what we got. Ferrer, my old mate, he's number 7, but you got to start thinking about him with age and, you know.
Well, I did hear, I don't have any quotes now, but I heard an end of season interview with him, and he basically said he feels great. He's going to keep on playing.
But what player has ever said, I feel shite? That next year is going to be a real struggle for me. I mean, it doesn't really happen.
It doesn't really happen, but you'd monitor, I suppose, how he's getting on in some of his, maybe the lower end games, you know, like if he's getting through to, say, semi-finals, quarter-finals in, say, 500 events. A lot can be told by how he gets on in those games, which we wouldn't be betting on, so it's an opportunity for us.
He was unlucky with injury there last year, but he had a good second half of the year. He played some tennis. We were on him, I think we were on him once or twice, were we?
We were definitely on him a couple of times, yeah.
Nishikori's ranked 8th. He's in a lot of trouble with injury. I mean, he's unbettable at the moment.
He is, and it's a shame because he's a player that I like to bet on. I have a lot of time for him. He's a very solid player. He never gives up. He's very ambitious.
He was ranked 4 around the summer, was he? Yeah, he was. Dropped down to rank 8 now, and I can see
he wasn't playing enough tennis.
Further. No,
he was out for a long time. Yeah, he was.
He made a few early round 1 exits as well.
Well, the US Open obviously being a huge thing. He was expected to go to at least the quarterfinals in that tournament, if not further. And he got the first game. He was gone, an early exit.
Around in the top 10, we have Tsonga, who always seems to be just hanging around there.
He lingers around. He's great when he wants to be, and he's a bit mad when he wants to be.
Just above him is Gasquet, who was kind of similar in that respect.
Well, he gave us a nice easy win in Paris at the end of last season, comfortable as we expected, and I'd like to think Gasquet has a couple of bets in him next year as well at certain odds. I think he's
always a risky one to take. Any French player basically is risky to put money on.
That's true.
If Isner, Cilic, we have Raonic, ranked 14. Now he will be like a potential bet, but I have some news on his injury.
Yeah, he struggled last season.
He changed his coach, Ljubicic. So Ljubicic left Raonic and is now a Federer. So Raonic has lost his coach. I don't know who he has since, but it can never be a good thing losing your coach.
I know.
Different people in your team. He says he gets back spasms, which had made him withdraw from the Premier League there at the end of the year. So that's not good news. He's lost his coach. He has back spasms. Didn't have a good end of season 2015. So even though he's kind of ranked exactly the kind of rank that we like to bet on, players that get decent odds early on in tournaments, I can't see betting on him.
I think
too many question marks over his fitness.
And last year, even any time we even looked at him, there was always a game within his last 3 or 4 games that was just shocking, and he was never anywhere near like even near betting on at last year. And I
He's
can't
potentially a massive player, like, but it's just not happening at the moment for him.
He could be another one of these, Del Potro type characters who's not even the
Dimitrov
top.
types.
Well, I mean more that he won't even be in the world rankings before long because he's just not playing enough tennis. Like Del Potro has had how many wrist injuries now? He's
trying to come back. Del
he's
Potro.
making like his third
I saw some video
comeback.
of him training on the beach there. Massive lanky.
It's such a shame because I was a fan. I always enjoyed watching Del Potro play. He's a huge fucking man. He is.
Anybody who insults Murray's mother on court is a legend by my
oh dear, we've gone there. Yeah, well, I'd imagine if Rainic can't kick these injury problems, it could be another because he was so poor last year. He really was.
Oh, he wasn't even it.
No, he wasn't playing like a top 20 player. And if you're in the top 20 and you're not playing like a top 20 player, you're not going to be there for too long.
So if Goffin rank 16, we'll be putting money on him. You can guarantee that.
Absolutely.
Tomic rank 18. Not surprised. I wish he'd just get lost.
Sigh of despair for Tommy. I mean, you just
even if he had an amazing 6 months in 2016, I still wouldn't touch him. Like, he's just liable to explode at any stage. Like, he just let you down massively.
You see, we just, the reality of it is when you're betting your full bank, you don't really have time. We don't do cash outs. We don't do sort of backup plans, and there's no insurance on an 100% bet. If your player decides he's not up for it halfway through a game, your bank's gone. So I wouldn't be willing to risk it. I mean, Dimitrov we'd have passed last year on. We didn't go for it. I personally think he's addressed his issues he had last year, and I think he's going to come back a better player next year.
I need hard evidence of that in the form of many good
Let's
games.
see how he gets on in Australia.
Yeah.
I think Dimitrov is a different type of player to Tomic, and I think there was an awful lot of stuff, it seems like, going on off court. Like, you're not going to hear Tomic come out in the press and talk about his own game. Australians are a bit too proud for that kind of stuff. But Tomic has come out straight on and said, look, disappointed the year, a few different changes, stuff off the court. And I reckon he is a serious player in there. I think he's a professional. I'd like to think we're going to be betting on him come midway through next year. I think he's going to build a bit of trust.
That'd be nice, but I can't see it happening.
Fair enough. Well, we can discuss this at a later. We'll reconvene at a later time to see how he's performing. In my mind, Dimitrov is one to watch next year. I think just to see how he gets on.
Yeah, again, like a guy with massive potential that just
he's
not quite
still at the right time of his career to hit form. He's lingering just outside the top 10.
Yeah, so top 20. Then we have TM. Obviously, we're going to keep an eye on. We have Fognini, who's had a bit of a resurgence, man. Like, he was very on and off at the start of last season, but obviously had some big wins, and he's not a guy again I'd trust with my money. But
I can't. Yeah, I couldn't part ways with money.
It's funny about Fognini, even as a person. Like, well, I don't want to say as a person, but I don't find him very likable.
No, I don't either. He doesn't endear himself to the crowd much. Like, he's not really a crowd pleaser, but he has had some good wins last year. So beating Nadal, didn't he? Yeah,
sure. Who didn't last year?
Not so. Come on now.
Dimitrov there is then ranked 28. So
is Dimitrov 28? Oh, 28. He fell from
grace
13th to 28 last year, and you'd like to think I'd expect to you'll find him in the top 20 very early next year. I think back to the top 20.
There you go.
If you look at who he's up against in who's ahead of him in those 7 places ahead of him to the top 20, I think he's going to be able to rise above that lot very quickly.
All right.
Like the rain, they're going to be heading the other way. Yeah.
We have Kyrgios then in rank 30. He was always
idiot.
Yeah. Well said.
Total clown, but we'll see how.
And in the 30s there, we don't really have anyone who would be kind of solid. Cole Screeber, I suppose he can be.
Can be okay. Manarino's interestingly fallen out of the top 40, and he would have been a player we would kind of advocates
47. Yeah,
advocates of him at certain.
The start of last year, now he was start of 2015 season. He was very solid.
He was.
He was a guy that, if you look back through his results, basically he lost when he was supposed to lose and he won when he was supposed to win.
Yeah,
he's kind of like a bit like Goffin, I found. But he's fallen out there. He's ranked 47.
Will you be able to make any allowances
No. He'll have to get back into the top 40 for me.
That's fair enough.
But who might sneak in there? We've got the likes of Vasily,
Klizin,
Koric definitely will pop in there.
He's a young man. He's got a lot. He's going to have a good future in the game. You'd expect he might be in the top 40 before long. You
got Bedin at rank 45. I don't know much about him, but
no, England's next up. Well, I say up and coming, but England's next big.
Then you got the likes of Donald Young, 48. He might sneak in.
He had a good end to last season, Donald Young. I enjoyed watching him.
And then we have the guy who's forever kind of mid-ranking there, Verdasco, just hanging around there.
Like a bad smell.
So that's basically the kind of players we'll be keeping an eye on, kind of top 40, top 50.
So I suppose one other thing we were talking about was how many events that we missed last year, let's say, in terms of
Yeah.
our betting season. In terms of looking forward, I guess, as well as looking back, we would have missed Australia last year. There was 4 Masters.
4 Masters.
And there's about 2, was it 5?
No, it's
500s?
5 or 6 500s, yeah.
So, I mean, we were kind of saying it's about 14 to 16 bets, 13 to 16 bets.
Yeah.
You know, that sort of brings us up towards the 35 to 40 bet bracket for next year on average.
Yeah, I think you got to be careful though. At the start of the year, I mean, tennis hardly takes a break. The break is only what, 6 weeks or so.
Absolute max,
Yeah, but still, I think we got to be wary on the Australian Open and maybe the first Masters or 2 of the season. You know, people are going to be a bit rusty. You got to just see where people are. You know, so I won't be devastated now if you don't get 3 bets for the Oz Slam.
No,
I'd be happy with
but
1 or 2.
there's so many games.
There is so many games.
I think 2 would be a nice point. If there's a third one, great.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the player schedule there for obviously the top players.
Australia.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good few in Brisbane.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a good few in Brisbane actually. So it'd be interesting to see those players playing those.
We'll definitely
250s.
be. Yeah, I think last year we were. I think one of the few things that we might kind of look at doing differently this year will probably be we probably gave no time whatsoever to 250s last year because we weren't betting on them.
Yeah, there was a stage kind of early doors where we were considering 250s for bets.
We were.
And then it just became it's so obvious that 250s are just, they can be quite unpredictable.
It's like a training match for them in some
yeah,
cases.
it can be literally a warm up
Yeah.
pre-slam or pre-master.
So we banged a big red flag on it.
Yeah, just like, there's no point. I mean, there's enough tournaments during the season. We don't
To
need
achieve
to be
what we
messing
want.
with 250s, yeah.
Yeah.
But it will still be good to see them playing at at Brisbane and the week or 2 before the Oz Open.
I think
Bit of
there's
intel.
definitely going to be a good reason this year, especially with the amount of players that we're kind of looking at, new players into the top 40 and stuff. It'll be interesting to see how they're preparing for different tournaments, where they're playing, how they're playing, I suppose, as well. And even just, there's got to be some telltale signs there that maybe a tournament coming up is of interest to them or isn't of interest to them. If they're going all the way in a 250, is that a good sign or a bad sign? You know, it's going to be, there's going to be a lot to contemplate, I think, next year.
There's a blog post up there about kind of trying to identify a tank.
Yeah.
Because it's the one thing about tennis. I mean, you can't judge and say whether a player has put his full effort into a match, but you can pretty much twig that, if there's a master next week and this lad has lost, straight sets to somebody you should have absolutely destroyed, he's had his eye on next week's tournament, basically.
He doesn't want the hassle of more games and the stressful time over the week prior to the event. He wants to be able to do his own kind of practice schedule as such and not a match schedule, and it's one to be wary of.
So it's always interesting to just watch the calendar and see what tournaments are coming up and what's on the horizon for the players.
Yep.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to see the 250s, see how they perform, and Oz Open, which be cautious.
Definitely. What about what's on the horizon for the Net Profit podcast? We've obviously been very low key up to now.
Yeah.
We've been doing kind of these podcasts sort of ourselves.
Yeah, we're still kind of learning ourselves with the podcast, still getting it off the ground.
Feeling our way around. But I think next year is probably time to maybe to broaden our horizons.
Yeah, the next the pre-Oz podcast will be we'll lash the links up to that, put it on Twitter and whatnot, and let people come and listen and enjoy,
have a listen, and
follow
see.
us and make some money. Yeah, so Australian Open serves off on the 18th.
18th of Jan, yeah.
We'll probably be doing a podcast on, I suppose, the day before.
The day before, probably you get the latest of the matches.
Yeah, that'll be a Sunday the 17th. I think they're going to wrap up then and wrap up this year.
So we'll sign off for 2015.
Good stuff. All right. Thanks for listening, if you bother listening, and see you next year.
See you.